spotlight on the women creating an impact, leading organizations, and mission-focused strategic programs across the federal technology and consulting community. This is Impact. I am being joined today by someone who I'm going to totally butcher her name, but I'm going to try not to. It's Tabisa Taliwaku Kalisa, the Chief of Business Operations, Office of Procurement at the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. Many of us know it as NASA. Thank you for joining me today, Tabby. How bad did I do?
You did absolutely wonderful.
Well, thank you for joining me today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And I'm really excited to be here and to share my journey. So please call me Tabby. My pronouns are she and her, for those who may be listening. And I'm ready to get started.
So Tabby, first, can you talk to me a little bit about what it is you do over there at NASA?
As the Chief of Business Operations within NASA Office of Procurement, it is my distinct pleasure to oversee a multidisciplinary team that provides business operations support to the Office of Procurement. We oversee various facets that includes communications, admin, HR, the budget, DEI engagements, and administrative support. Our acquisition workforce is direct reports to my boss. There were 800 people. And so what that entails is being able to provide them the resources necessary to be able to be successful in being able to execute $22 billion worth of annual spend a year and over 30,000 actions annually.
So it's just a little bit of an important position, just a little.
Well, I choose to believe so. Yes, it is. And the reason why I think it's important is they do what they do best. They're a highly skilled workforce. Yeah. They're enabling NASA's missions, the current and future missions. They're executing strategies that have never been executed before. But we're on the back end. We are the folks who make sure that we can get them the training that they need, or make sure that those training actions are processed in a certain amount of time. Make sure if we have any requests that are coming in from the Hill, we are making sure for the Office of Procurement, we're getting those coordinated and sent out in the record amount of time. For any communication or events that we go to, we're ensuring that our social media, our news releases, press releases, publications, compendiums that actually talk about the accomplishments that they have managed to achieve. In our case, it's like we had, the last one was the FY22 NASA Office of Procurement, a year in review. It just shows all the accomplishments. So my team puts that together, and being able to work across the 10 centers to be able to get the data, the photos, being able to not only send it out to everyone within leadership at NASA, but also send it out to people outside of the agency is an amazing thing, because that shows the magnitude. We know you're doing great work, but we are here as your champions to kind of like talk about the great work that you do, or that they do.
And that's really cool. And you work at NASA. Hello, that's really cool too.
Yes, and the one thing I will say about that is that if you had ever said, Tabby, one day you're going to work at NASA, I'd have looked at you like you were absolutely insane. So when I tell you that anything is possible in this world, we are unlimiting. We limit ourselves just because we can do anything we set our minds to. I used to watch NASA on the news in Uganda when the space shuttle launches, and I'm like,
far away.
That is so cool, right? That is what we do. And it's so they managed to make that happen, and they bring the astronauts back, and they're safe. So this career trajectory of mine has been a happy circumstance of different events that have led to me getting to where I am today. And it's such an amazing experience. And I'm so looking forward to what's next.
Tabby, tell me a little bit about your journey from getting from Uganda to over to working for NASA. You couldn't have just walked in and been like, okay, I'm working at NASA. There had to have been a journey. Tell me about it.
There was a journey, and I'm always excited to share this. And I'm actually going to tell you a lot that I've not even really shared with some of my team before. I have over 26 years of experience. I began my career, like I said, at NASA. In Uganda, working for an insurance company. And if it wasn't for that, my manager's response to me, I wouldn't be where I am today. I started working in the federal government. I was a support contractor with the Department of Army Small Business Office, and I was overseeing their mentor protege program. And then one of the things that we did is that we managed to to get documents scanned so we could actually get them the QR code within their database. I then moved over to the Department of Defense, Office of Small Business Programs. At that time, it was Acquisition, Logistics, and Technology. Of course, the name has since changed. But in that role, I was a financial analyst, and I would work on the office budget, the mentor protege program, as well as the Indian incentive program. So I used to send funds, transfer funds to the different departments and components within the Department of Defense. And then I'd also oversee the budget across 3 appropriation years and over $100 million. Then an amazing opportunity came up with NASA. And as a support contractor still, I got to work in this amazing agency, and it was working for the Office of Small Business Programs at NASA. What I did there was I was also still overseeing the agency budget, but I had an opportunity to be integral to revamping the mentor protege program within the agency and to where it is right now. And then in 2010, I applied for a job, a federal job, and it was amazing. It was a competitive position. I was selected. And so from 2010 to 2019, when I moved on to procurement, I managed to oversee 7 agency programs: the Women-Owned Small Business Program, the Hub Zone Program, the HBCUMI program, the SDB program at one time. And so the outreach program, and then we also go to be able to launch the very first small business app, which is Always BP Mobile, across the federal government. That was an amazing opportunity. And in 2019, I got this awesome experience to come to the Office of Procurement, and it was a position where I got a chance to, work on or set up the communication strategy for an enterprise. The Office of Procurement had changed. We're now operating on an enterprise model. So I was hired as the communications manager, and I still oversee that as part of one of my roles and work on a strategy and how we as an office, an organization, we could be able to execute our communication strategy across the 10 NASA centers. So it's been an amazing journey. From that role, I transitioned to the executive officer, and I did that. So in 2022 is when I moved into this role here. So I've managed to write policy, oversee programs, work on a small business app, set up a new division. It's been an amazing journey that I still can't believe I get to do every single day.
Someone said, "Here, how about try this?" You're like, "I can do that. I can."
Oh, even stepping up when people don't want to do the grunt work, volunteer, say, "Hey, you know what? I could do that." You might not know all the answers, but you can try. Mm-hmm. The fact of trying to do something and you can fail, you never fail. You're always learning from that experience. There's always a lesson learned. And so those lessons learned have helped us, enabled us to be what we are, to be more innovative, to be more intentional about what we're doing, to also be able to execute more with less. And that's really what it is. That's the core of what we do.
And I don't know about you, but I'm more inspired by leaders that are willing to do the hard work and have done the hard work and are able to answer the questions because they've been there.
Right. And the leaders who understand when you can step in, part of what you do as a leader is you're going to be agile.
Yeah.
It's something that's you're never going to really work your 9-to-5 job. There are days you're going to have to work a lot longer hours, but you also have to be able to hold your people accountable, but also have the empathy to understand, one of my members of my team right now, this is a hard time for them. They've just had surgery. I can step in and I can do what needs to be done. And we can still be seamless, that even my bosses wouldn't have to know what's going on. Being able to hear, being able to understand, give others a voice, because Marianne, one of the most important things is people always remember how you make them feel. So taking the time, even when you start a meeting, just saying, "Hey, how are you doing today?" Asking the question before you get all the work done is so important because it goes a long way. And not every leader understands that empathy, or being able to ensure that your team understands that you care about them, you're there for them, you're hoping to get them the recognition that they deserve because they work so hard, but also taking a step back to listen. And that's really important because this, every single day. It's harder for us. We're doing so much. We're all struggling with the work life balance. I still haven't got there yet. So I know I'm trying to do more. I'm a single mom. I have an amazing 13-year-old son, 13-year-old son, I'm sorry, 13-year-old son who's even taller than me. And, there are days I have to take a step back and I'll tell my team, hey, listen, I need to take some time to spend time with my son because I can see that, even when I've had a hard day, I'm going to try and have one meal a day with him. I'll try and drop him off at school the days when I have to go into the office so I can spend some more time to find out what does he need to be the most amazing child that he is. But he also knows that his mother is still there. She has to work, but she's there. Yeah. And that's what makes a difference. So thank you.
It's interesting. And I don't know if it may be like this in other agencies, but I have spoken to and seen a lot of women at NASA events lately in high up positions. So NASA's really opening the doors for a lot of women, it seems like.
Yes, it is. I think we're aware that there's more that can be done. One of our core values is inclusion. And, yesterday there was a gold medal ceremony for the women who paved the way for us in terms of scientific exploration. And their impact is felt still to this day. So there are opportunities, but for the leaders, this is one of the things I hope that we can be able to ensure that we amplify. If a leader can get to see past all of that diversity or even see you as a person and see what you can contribute, because at times we get unfortunately penalized for that. But being able to see the value that you can bring and give you a chance and give you an opportunity, it's amazing what can happen. And we get to see that every day. I work for an agency where we make the impossible possible. So it's one of the best things about working at the agency that I do.
That's really great. So do you have a leader or a mentor that you think helped you, guide you along the way?
I don't have one. I've had several. So that's one of the interesting things about being a mentor. I've had mentors, and even some of them have been female, some of them have been male. I've had mentors who are, been my bosses, but I've also mentors who are even some of my peers, because some of the struggles that we're going through, we can be able to discuss that, and you can hopefully do it in a safe space. There's nothing worse than someone who says, I will mentor you. They give you that hope, and they are not taking the full advantage of the fact that they're trying to help someone get to the table. We have seen this a number of times before, where there are a lot of women who have a seat at the table and are not standing up as much as they could or should, because now there are that they are comfortable, or sometimes they're threatened. It happens all the time. I've had a number of really great mentors who, have managed to give me some really constructive feedback. Hey, Tab, you probably shouldn't look at it from this lens. And another thing, as being an immigrant to this country, and I'm a proud immigrant, by the way, I don't look at things from the same perspective. My perspective is a little bit different. And being able to have a seat at the table, to be able to drive that change, to do my part, to do a lot more, has given me a lot more confidence to realize that it's possible. And I hope that this message goes out to someone out there who is in a position like me, who will say, hey, I want to do more. What can I do? And I'll help you. A mentor of mine, one of my bosses, had recommended a book to me. And I always tell people that if you have a boss or someone in senior leadership who recommends something to you, take the time to follow up and read that book or take the advice, because they don't have to say anything. They can look at you and smile and keep moving on. And so one of the books that he recommended, and I hope that's okay that I'm going to share this, is, what got you here will not get you there. I don't know if you're familiar with that book.
No.
But it was a wonderful resource for me to understand, the success that you've had that has got you to this point might be a hindrance going forward, especially if you're seeking more leadership or senior leadership roles. And then there's a follow-on to that book, which is How Women Rise. So I always recommend that to any of my mentees. And the reason being is because, women in the workplace, we're treated differently, and at times we also have a little self-sabotage. And there are also cultural differences that exist. And I'm sitting here. I'm a prime example of that. Some of the things that have helped me be successful, or some of the traits that have helped me be successful, at times have also been my hindrances, and I can actually say that. But there is always an opportunity. There's always a seat at the table. We just have to do our part to make sure we can give others that opportunity as well.
That's a great story. I like that. I like that a lot. So now, as you become a leader, is there a pivotal moment or experience that helps shape the way you lead?
All right. So for those of you who might know, Nelson Mandela, affectionately known as Madiba, he always, one thing I'd heard is he used to always listen to everyone else before he made a decision. Right. And I know that it depends on the circumstances. At times I would like to give my team a chance to contribute and we come up with a decision, or at times I'm just going to say, hey, this is the plan and this is how we're going to execute that plan. It depends on where we are, because it depends on the circumstance. But one of the things that you really need to do, especially in an era like this, we as leaders in the federal government, or even anywhere, even in industry, diversity is important, right? We look at the diverse numbers, or we even look at our teams and our workforce, how we're comprised, what the makeup is of our workforce. Now, as a leader, you can have the most diverse team and it looks good on paper. But if you don't take the time as a leader to listen to your team, be able to give them the chance to contribute, and even if you don't even go with the decisions or maybe even some of their thoughts and even explain that to them, that is something that is very critical. And it's something that can be lost, because our diversity makes us strong. And not being able to give others or empower others to contribute to that, make us even stronger, it's definitely something that's holding us back.
And not taking advantage of someone's contribution that may bring you forward in a way that you weren't expecting too.
In a way that you weren't expecting, absolutely. And some of the best ideas have come from people who you actually don't even, who might be working on your team, or you might even have considered and not looked at it from that lens. So it's really important to take a holistic view at what we're trying to achieve, but also taking the time to stop and process and ensure that you've given everyone else a chance to be able to make sure that their voice is heard.
Awesome. So how can we encourage more young women to aspire to be leaders and to pursue roles that generally are taken by men?
Doing what you do right now. Giving us a chance to hear about wonderful, successful women who are doing a lot, but then it's possible. I go back to the story that I told earlier. If it wasn't for that executive being in the room and talking about her journey, I believe I'll not be where I am. And then also being able to, as women, there are so many resources that are out there. I have amazing mentees, but I always say that if anyone is interested, reach out. That's all it takes, is just reach out on LinkedIn. Let me know. Because believing enough in yourself to know that you have something to contribute is so important. And at times, between the self-sabotage or everyone else around us not believing in ourselves, believe in yourself enough that you have something to give and something to impart. That is so powerful. And having the right people in your team who can help mentor and guide you is critical. The other thing is that not every mentor or that you may seek might have the capacity to give you the help that you need. So you also be able to recognize that. Don't take it personally. So many people do so many amazing things that they might have the time, but, find ways or find times that they might have some downtime, or, if they like to go running or taking a walk, hey, let's take a walk at the same time. I can maybe spend 15 minutes of that time with you. And I can ask you these kind of questions. When you show up, you have an opportunity to spend that 15 minutes or whatever time you may have. Do so constructively. Make sure you go to that meeting, or the first time you're meeting with them, send them your bio, send them your resume, get your questions, put your questions together, think about that. And then when you send it to them, send all that information, that when they know that you're taking the time to meet with you, they know that you're being prepared enough to ask the questions. Don't get to the meeting, sit there and expect them to just impart. Right. It's important for you to ask the questions that you need to be successful. And I'm still working on this leadership journey. I have really great mentors, as I've mentioned, but you also cannot look at yourself as or compare yourself to anyone else. I have leaders who are much younger than me, and I have leaders a lot older than me. Their journey is their journey. It has nothing to do with me. So being able to recognize that and think about that as your superpower. We're different, and this is our why. This is how we make that difference. This is what we're bringing to the table. Is so important.
And
I read a lot.
I also like to find someone who inspires me and just sort of follow them, whether you just maybe following them on social or anything like that, just to feed off of their aura and their positivity sometimes will help you too.
That helps. And then one thing I do, and this is really part of my ethos, is that I have to spend the time to pause, reflect. I meditate. I really spend the time, and I'm intentional about the time that I spend to meditate, because it helps me focus, be grounded, be intentional about what I'm trying to do, and also realize that people are watching you. Mm-hmm. So aside from your boss or even your peers, there might be someone else who's looking and saying, well, you know what, Marianne, you're doing something so successful. You're doing something so groundbreaking, and I might be able to do that. You're giving me a chance to see the possibilities in an era where there's so much that's held against us, or there's so many other difficulties that we might be going through. We're all unique and we all matter.
I love that. So now let's look ahead. What do you envision for the future of women in leadership, and what steps can we take to accelerate that process?
Future women in leadership. I truly believe that we're breaking glass ceilings like never before. The things and it really takes the mindset, being around people, being able to share, being able to speak up, even when someone says something that might be derogatory or might be offensive or of color, being able to stand up and rise is so critical for us, because it helps us or helps others see the possibilities. I know that in my office, we have a lot of really strong female assertive leaders, and it's okay. But the other thing, and it's actually not only okay, but it actually gives us a lot more excitement, because we know that they have done something amazing and it's possible for us to do the same. But the leaders who are vulnerable enough to share some of the difficulties or some of the challenges that they faced, it's really good, because it also says, hey, I was a mom and I had to run from football practice or from band, and then I came back home, looked after my family, put them to bed, and I had to go back in and send another email, understanding some of the struggles and how you manage to figure out that work-life balance, because not everyone has that together, right? So what steps can we take to accelerate that process? Is understanding that the opportunities for other women, informal or formal mentoring programs, there are being able to form groups, being able to, there are a lot of women empowerment, there are a lot of groups out there that help empower other women. So seeing that that you're not alone in this journey, and being able to add more value to the team and to what you're doing is so important.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. And is there anything else you would like to add? I want to say also, I want to congratulate you on winning an Impact Award, a Forum Impact Award this year. Congratulations on that.
Thank you so much. I'm still so excited. It is really humbling, because there's still so much work to do. And in any shape, form, or fashion, if I can help anyone else hear this, when they hear this podcast, I say, hey, Tabby, reach out to me on LinkedIn. If there's a way for me to help you be successful, because others have given me a chance, all it takes is one opportunity. Let's not lose sight of that. Let's try and help each other. And the more we do, the more we rise. We will all rise. I want to say that each and every day, you're doing something to enable or to help you grow. Leadership is not stagnant. We're continuously improving. We're doing a lot more with a lot less. So you need to find innovative tools for you to either, study, work, have the right circle, make sure that you gauge the people around you, ensure that they're positive. A lot of people might not understand your journey, not because they are scared. It's really because they have not gone that far and they cannot imagine anyone else doing so. So while you're breaking that glass ceiling and they're not understanding why you're trying to achieve that, it's okay for them not to understand that. But as long as you know that it's okay for you to be able to achieve more and makes you happy and it brings you joy, the world's your oyster.
Well, Tabby, thank you for speaking to us today. And I got to say, the future of women in leadership is having mentors like yourself.
Awesome. I will take that, and I hope I can help others.
Thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you're keeping up to date on the latest episodes, and learn more at govforum.io.